It's August. Um, it's not too far after my last video. Maybe a little girl leaking on me. They getting sleepy. My little girls, my little Yorkies. They're starting to lay down for the night. So, I thought I would come on here and, you know, so far I've documented my journey through getting out of survival mode, getting myself in a good living situation, which is in my tiny cabin, and I'm still building that out, and I'm working from home again. Well, I've always been working from home, but more comfortably, you should say, and kind of getting more settled. So I was thinking the other day, I shared how far I've come this year in 2026, and we are now in August, and it's almost mid-August, and I've come a really long way. And like I said, I shared the whole survival mode into the tiny home story. You can go back and watch those videos, and I've documented and shared with you what I've saved, what I've paid, all that stuff, so you kind of know where I'm at with my debt snowball journey. I'm kind of back into doing more of the envelope challenge because now I'm saving for another thing, which that'll be in another video. But I wanted to come on today, and you know, my YouTube channel, the reason I started it is I wanted to encourage someone else who can relate to me that getting out of debt is doable, being comfortable with your finances is doable. If one person can do it, a group of people could do it, right? So my channel is called Cassie's Money Breakthroughs, and I wouldn't be helping further if I didn't give you some ideas, right? I say sell this, do that, save up that, whatever's left of your job. Okay, so let's just say that you're like, I don't know. First off, I don't know everything. So don't think I'm trying to come off like I know everything. But I've got some tips of things that works for me, and I want to share the stories of what's working for me with you so that maybe it works for you. So I came up with this to share the other night when I was talking to some good friends of mine, long-term friends. And I just kind of bounced an idea off of them, kind of what I've been going through and what I've tried, everything. And they're like, what's that? Okay, so it kind of stemmed the idea that I was like, hey, I'll share it with my audience not because I'm looking for a pat on the back or like, there is a link involved. There's like a referral link that this place has and all that. And it would help me and you. Okay, if you choose to do that, fine. If not, that's not what I'm on here for. What I got to thinking was, I was trying to find ways to sell like lower dollar items easier, and I found out in a different way. I wasn't looking for it. I found out from a family member of mine that they were using an app called Vinted, Vinted.com. And I found out that Vinted is new to the U.S. now. How many months, I don't know. I didn't go do all the research. But I got interested because I was telling my friends the other night, I was like, hey, I started talking about it a little bit. They're like, really? It works like that? And so I said, hey, maybe we need to talk about this further. So yes, Vinted.com, and there'll be a link down below. You can click on it. It's a referral link, so you can click on my link, and if you join through my link, then you can earn money from Vinted, but so can I if you choose to like list on there. There's a little rules. I don't know a whole lot about it. Vinted is new to me, but I wanted to share my little journey because I got started trying out Vinted in May, like the middle of May, and I thought, oh well, what have I got to lose? I'll just try it. Now I'm a reseller, so I have my own business, so I want you to keep that in mind, that I'm trying not to operate it that way. I'm just trying to, because number one, Vinted, at least currently in the US, they don't really want to appease to the reseller audience with multiple items and a bunch of new items and things like that. They are promoting really like they're just, they're promoting like clear out your closet kind of thing. So like if there's items in your home, it's really supposed to be this simple. If there's like items in your home you don't wear anywhere more, you've outgrown them, whether that be clothing, shoes, there's a list of things they'll let you list, like household items, party decor, home decor, craft beads. I say craft beads, sorry. I've done a lot of craft beads. Craft items is really what I meant to say. Like a bunch of different craft items. I'm sure you could do like fabric falls in the craft items. I don't mean to try to rattle off every category because it's not like I know them anyway. But media. So there's a plethora of things that Vinted will allow you to list. Now, the reason I'm talking about it is the barrier to entry for a lot of people that I'm hearing for as long as I've been reselling is it's too complicated. They don't like fees. It's kind of hard to figure out what you're going to wind up with. And so people are just like, that's not worth my time kind of thing. But I'm all about sharing with you something that might work, that can be relatable, that seems easy, that you can put time into or whatever. So I'm going to give you my little journey. It doesn't mean you'll get the same results and all that kind of stuff. It's always what you put into something, how much you're willing to put into something is how much you'll get out of it, obviously. So I will say that Vinted has came to the U.S., like I said, I don't know how long ago. They were well established in other countries, but they've now stepped into the U.S. and they're trying to grow the audience, right? The buyers and the sellers. So the way this platform works, you can use the desktop, by the way, or you can use your app, like what is it? I'm not that savvy. Apple or Google Play or whatever it is, where you get your apps at, you know what I mean, for your different devices. So you can download the Vinted app, or like I said, go on the desktop. I use both. I use the Vinted app on my iPad, which I'm talking to you on, and I also use the Vinted desktop. Like when I go to ship, I like to do that because my label printer that I use, my Dymo, it is not wireless, so I need to be hooked in. So on an iPad, you can imagine that's not that easy. It's probably doable, maybe. I haven't really looked into that, but not to cover all of that, but I'm just saying I use both, the desktop and the app. I like them both. It's fun. So I kind of wanted to walk through my story a little bit on how I've done and why I'm sharing it with you, which is the reason I'm sharing it with you, is because I've done okay. So if you're looking to make some extra money, whatever you're needing money for, if it's like me and you're trying to knock out debt just to make progress, if you're trying to get, some kind of what do you call it, room in your budget, you know what I mean, some money left or some money to use or some power to do something with financially, okay, that's the reason behind this whole thing. And of course, if you're saving money for something else like emergency fund, these are ways that if you can't find the money any other way, like, right, if you work, however that is, if you work to earn with the intent to make income, to me that's working, with an intent to make income, maybe you experience kind of like me, I work for corporate America, and it tops out. You only get so much. You can only do so much with that based on your financial situation. That's just how it is, right? So if you're looking for extra income like me, I'm in a debt snowball journey, and I put emergency fund to the side and all that kind of thing, and I still want to make progress and get to the other side and then have another goal down the road. I think Vinted might be a good answer for some of you. Some of you, you'll think it's neat, and others will be like, I'm not using that, kind of things. All right. So in May, I found out that Vinted existed. So I was like, okay, what's this all about? So I literally took just a few simple items, and I mean like not even over $5 that I was asking. $1 here, $2 there, whatever. And I thought, you know what, it all adds up. I want to try it out. How hard is this shipping thing? And I will say that shipping on Vinted is the only way to sell on Vinted. So you do have to ship it out, and you have 5 days from the day in which it was paid for to print the label and get it in the mail. So I've got some tea. So let's say I listed that tea, which that's not something you would list, but I'm just using it like it's a cup, you know, or something. Bear with me, bad example. But let's say you're selling a cup. And what you do is literally this simple. On the app, there's a option called Sell Item. You click it. It brings up a form. And on that form, the very first thing you do is you download your picture of your item. You download the picture or pictures of your item. Right after that is a description. You want to say, okay, this is a cup, blah, 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 right? You describe it. Next is a description field. You can put as much or as little as you want. You might want that to include like where you house it until someone buys it. Like maybe you need to remind yourself, I put that on shelf 1, and when it sells, I gotta go, I'll see it in the description, shelf 1 is where I put it. Oh, there it is. And you get it off shelf 1, and you get it ready to ship out in a package, and you get it in the mail. You get it off to the mail. Okay. So I did that. And you just casually do it, right? Like you find some stuff, you find 10 items, 5 items, 1 item, 20 items, and try it. Now, the next thing on that form, so we've covered pictures, then we've covered, you're gonna give it a title, what it is, then you're gonna give it a short or long description, and I recommend you put like a where it's located for your benefit when it sells, in case you get a quantity of items built up that you need to find it, okay? So I think that matters. I'm just saying that. You don't have to use that at the very beginning, but it's beneficial. Okay, then the next thing it's going to ask you is your category. So if I had a cup, maybe it's in the kitchen category and it says kitchen mugs or, you know, something like that, and that makes sense to you, like, yeah, that category. So you click it. Well, as soon as we select the category, then it's going to start expanding other required categories, and then there'll be 1 or 2 categories potentially that is just recommended. You don't really have to fill them out. Like one of them I can think of is material. Like if my cup was made of, you know, like metal, I can choose that, but I don't have to. Okay, but all these other fields I've said so far are required. If you don't fill it out, it'll say you forgot that. Like it won't let you post it yet or whatever. Okay, so you pick your category, and then it'll expand. Like if it was a mug, it'll go into what's necessary by that category that you chose, and you start filling those out. It'll ask you on almost every category its condition. Is it new with tags? Is it new without tags? Is it good? Is it very good? Is it good? You know, what general condition is this item in? Then after that, it asks you a color, which you can put up to 2. And let's say your cup is brown and green or whatever. What Vinted is good about is the pictures you gave it. It's pretty smart in picking up what colors those are. So let's say that my cup wasn't just a couple of colors and it's just kind of wild or whatever. It'll say multi, and you can just pick multi and move on. Okay? It's really this simple. And then after you've done those category, again, I can't say all the fields that are going to come up because it's based on the category that you're putting the item in, right? So that's going to matter. I can give you a couple other examples, like if in the title I said bag of random beads, okay, like they're craft beads, and it gathers, oh, your category you're probably wanting is beads, this, that, and the other. You're like, yeah, that's where, yeah, you're right. So I click beads, and then it might say, I thought I would remember. I did a bunch of those. Oh, brand. Like, it'll ask you on everything what brand it is. Now, let's say the beads, I mean, these are in bags that I sold. They're not marked. So I start typing unknown, and so source unknown will come up, and you select that. You selected something. It was required. Okay, if you have an actual brand, but it's not in their bank, if you will, you know, like Calvin Klein pants or something, right? And you put Calvin Klein blah 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 in the title. Well, when you get to the brand, Calvin Klein's probably going to be there. But if you chose something else not all that popular, even though that's really what it is on your item, when you start typing it and it's not in the bank of Vinted, right, history, then it'll let you still choose what you called it and assign it that name, because you're like, this is what it really is. And so it takes that name. It takes what you put in there. And by the way, it's taking me a lot longer to explain this to you than it does to do it. Okay. So then, after you do the brand, then it asks you condition, and then it'll ask you color, and then I think the next category, in most categories, it'll ask you material, but it'll say in parentheses recommended, meaning you can skip what that's made of if you want. Like, if you don't know if it's made of metal, plastic, acrylic, brass, I don't know, you know what I mean? They allow you to skip that. You don't have to fill it in. All right, and then the next part is, what do you want for it? Do you want $1? Do you want 20? Whatever, right? You put that, you put the price in that you would like to get for it. And then lastly, there's 3 shipping options. There's 3 sizes. It's really this simple. If I sold this cup, and this cup, when I package it, will not be over. This is something you got to know from the very beginning. Weigh it with the expected packaging. Okay, I don't mean put it in the pack. I mean just like give yourself a really good idea of how that is going to weigh out when it sells as a listing on its own. I'll get into bundling in a minute, but I just, for the sake of listing an item, or bundle of items for that matter, that listing, whether it has 1 or many items in it, maybe you're selling 2 cups, you know, whatever. But if you're selling those 2 cups and they all go together, you know, it's one listing, it's one, you know, it's going to one person, it's one listing, whoever buys it gets what you listed in that listing, okay? You've got to know up front what that's going to weigh, what that's going to look like when you actually package up and send it out. Okay, so small is up to 18 ounces. Now, if you've shipped, I understand you may not understand exactly what that is if you don't ship a lot of product, but maybe a lot of people do, so I'm just going to kind of break it down real quick. What they mean by small, and when you're in doubt, I got one I'm wanting attention. When you're in doubt, they threw me off my game. When you're in doubt, you click on this little blue link right around the small, where the small is, and it reminds you to ship small. This item you're putting up has to be 18 ounces or less in weight. So 18 ounces, you know, 16 ounces is a pound, right? 16 ounces make up 1 pound. So 2 more ounces added to that would be your up to 18 ounces. So as long as this item does not weigh more than 18 ounces when it's packaged in the package and it's in the package, the expectation, if it's not going to go over that, that's what you want to choose for that item when you put it up for sale. You got to do that up front, okay? And then the second one, I'll just go over the next 2. The second one is medium, and when you click on it, it says up to 2 pounds. So if you think it's going to be over the 18 ounces, which was small, right? If you think it's going to fall between 18 ounces and 2 pounds, then you need the medium, because it's up to 2 pounds. Then if the item, which there's some of that too, right? Especially like cookbooks, the larger cookbooks, depending, and all that kind of stuff. That was just an example. There's all different kind of things that can be that. That just came to mind because books larger books especially, are naturally heavier. So the large option is up to 4 pounds. So as long as the item that you're listing on Vinted, that one listing, it doesn't have to be one item, but one listing that's going to go out to one buyer, okay, that is going to need to be up to 4 pounds, but don't go over. I've never listed anything over 4 pounds because in my mind, this is my education on it, is that you don't list it on Vinted if it goes over 4 pounds. Okay? You learn that as you will. It doesn't mean I'm right. That's just how they have it broke down. They have small, medium, and large. They don't say extra large. They don't get into let's do something special if you're over that. It doesn't talk about that. So I follow the small, medium, large, okay? So you have 3 options for the shipping. Now we've covered the form, and as all that's filled out that's required, you hit submit. The item is listed. You list as many items as you want to try to get rid of. You ask the price. You can get offers from people, looking at it. And one of the perks, I would say, it doesn't go on all the time, but promotionally, lately, when you put an item up, Vinted had shipping for free for the buyer, okay, as a promotion in the US only. So let's say I went on there and I wanted this, okay, like the other day, I'll give you an example. I ordered 2 cookbooks. I wanted to see how ordering on Vinted meant. What does it mean to be a buyer? So I went on and, okay, I found this cookbook, sounded interesting. So I was like, well, that sounds interesting. This cookbook, I'm making something up. I think it was $5. Let's just say that. I think it was that. Okay. And I clicked on the cookbook, but guess what? Here's the beautiful part of Vinted also. When you have multiple items up, and I click on your cookbook, okay, and I'm looking at your cookbook, and I'm like, well, that's kind of cool. It immediately, under the cookbook listing that I'm looking at, it immediately starts showing me other stuff you have up. And I can just start scrolling down and being like, oh, well, that's interesting too, or what's that, or you know what I mean? And there's a button, though, at the top, even before you start scrolling down, and it says bundle items. So that allows me the opportunity to click bundle. And so I already like your cookbook. And when I hit bundle, I get to see everything you have listed. And if I pick other things, I'm bundling it. So I've had a lot of sales that are bundles, because people will go through there and they're like, oh, and I like that too, and I like that too. So I chose a cookbook, and then I went in there and I saw another cookbook. As a matter of fact, that cookbook turned out to be the same author as the one I first liked, and it was kind of related but a different cookbook. So they were both interesting to me. So I had clicked bundle on this person's, I wouldn't call it store, I would call it listings. Because if Vinted ever goes Vinted Pro, then we're talking business accounts and a lot of listings and probably calling it a store and all that. But to my understanding, they are not establishing pro accounts or anything like that for the US now. They're still working on growing and getting known. And so anyway, you'll see a lot of Vinted commercials right now. And again, I don't know how long they've been around in the U.S. And I definitely don't know how long they've been around in other countries. Someone else could explain that way better than me. I'm too new for trying to explain that. So I listed some items in May, and they sold pretty quickly. And I don't know if that's a contribution to just the platform, and I was just wanting to move the stuff, and I wasn't putting up anything super expensive. But maybe the stuff I was putting up, people were like, hey, that's cool, I want that, So I've sold a hodgepodge of things, from crafts to jewelry to broken down jewelry, what else? Movies, books, other media like some CDs I had for a while, things like that. It just just a hodgepodge stuff. Really, I've sold one piece of clothing, but guess what? I've only put up 2 pieces. So you can tell my focus hasn't really been closed, although I could do that as well. So anyway, that just gives you an idea of what I've tested. So I was gonna say that I told you the bundle part. Oh, so when I bundled, I had 2 items, but once I bundled, I could just buy it. So here's the deal. As a seller, you put up items. If you're asking $5 for an item, guess what? When it sells, is unless you took an offer, obviously. If you take an offer, it sells for that, okay? But if you put up a $5 item and somebody's interested in that item and they just buy it outright, they don't ask you to take less or whatever, you get $5 as a seller. As a buyer, I come along and I said, ooh, I like that cookbook, and oh, by the way, I want a bundle and I like this one too. But I wanted to see how the offer feature works. So I'm like, okay, I picked 2 cookbooks. They're $5 each. I'm at $10. As a buyer, I had $10, which is the cookbooks, but I also had a small fee. It's called a Vinted buyer fee, and that's where Vinted makes their money. The buyer pays I don't know if it's a percentage, I don't know how they break it down, but for me on my $10, it wasn't that much. It was $1 something, okay? And they call it buyer fee. And so anyway, when I thought, okay, I want to know how the offer works. So I offered them $9 for both cookbooks instead of $10. Okay. So they took it. They're like, sure, I'll do that. So I'm going to make a little point here. If you make a seller an offer as a buyer, you say, like my offer, I made a $9 offer. Well, 1, they can decline. 2, they can counter offer. They can come back with something. Or they can accept it. Now, this is a little different in Vinted. I don't necessarily agree with, but this is how it works. If I go along and I say, I offer you $9 for that, and you say, as a seller, you say, sure, I'll take that. I can decide as a buyer, oh, never mind. I don't have to do anything else. Well, I'm glad they took my offer, but I changed my mind. I don't want it. I think that's kind of silly. I think if you're offering somebody something, traditionally you're probably trying to buy it, but they don't have to. So technically, even though I offered $9, if I wasn't fast enough in my either paying or buying decision, if I try to put it off for a day or 2 or hours or a week or whatever, it may have sold. Somebody else can still come along and want it, want one or both. Another thing I've experienced is when I was putting things up for sale, some of my stuff I was putting up, and again, they were bargains, they were selling so fast while I was listing other things. Like, I haven't even looked to see if anything sold yet. I'm just posting stuff. That somebody had sent an offer. Let's say they bundled like 8 things together. And they said, and instead of just buying them, they said, of course, I don't see this yet. I'm working, putting stuff up, right? And they've sent an offer I haven't seen yet. And they're like, hey, will you take X amount for this bundle? They're trying to save $1 or whatever the case is. Well, I may or may not have have been willing to take it, but guess what? While I'm working and I haven't even seen that yet, somebody else comes along and wants 1 or more of the items that's in that bundle that they're trying to offer me to buy from me. But guess what? If anything out of that bundle sells, it cancels their bundle. I've had that happen more than once. They'll try to get on it and put a bundle together because they want all of these things. But sometimes you can't react fast enough, which I guess that's a good problem to have. But you can't act fast enough to say, sure, I'll take that sometimes, before someone else has already bought some of what they were wanting that they bundled up. So they would have been at an advantage, and logically, they don't know this, but they would have been at an advantage to bundle that and just buy, instead of try to get a discount and wait to see what I think about that, because some of their stuff they wanted sold. So that's how Vinted works. So I get the product ready, right? I get the package ready. And by the way, you go onto Vinted, you go to orders once you get a sale, and um, you're simply printing the label. The person already purchased the label on the buyer side. And so as a seller, we are pulling up the label and printing it at that point. We finish packaging it up, whether it's one or bundled, and we go on there and print the label and put it on there. And then it's got to go in the mail. Now, what I've experienced is most of the time packages go out USPS ground advantage. But I've learned that buyers can choose how they want it to ship, and their choices must be USPS ground advantage or FedEx. So when you go to print the label, you're finding out right there, is this going to go USPS or did this person choose FedEx? There's two differences there, so you have to watch for that. But I will tell you, the labels are drastically different. Like you see the difference in the printing of the label, that is distinctively different between the two shipping services. Okay, all right. So it goes off its merry way through the mail, and then the person gets it at some point in the future. You know how that goes. I don't know how long it takes, but most of my packages have been fast, within a week or less, depending on where it's going. So it's kind of like a message. It's a message system where it'll light up, it'll show like a little notification, and you go to it and you're like, oh, that's that cup I sold. And it'll tell you the latest comment down there. It'll tell you item has been delivered. So now you know it got to its destination. Then once the buyer accepts it, they got two options. It's accept this as good, I got it, all good with the world, good deal. They don't really have to leave feedback, but they can. If they don't leave feedback, but they accept it like they're supposed to, the buyer does have to accept the item. They can say there's an issue, like if it got damaged in shipping, they can say issue and work with Vinted to address that, okay? Or more commonly, everything's good, you open up, you love it, whatever, that's what you wanted, and you hit accept the item. When they do that, when they accept the item, there's a certain turnaround time in which funds go into what they call your wallet. So that's when you actually get your money into your wallet, is when the item has been delivered and accepted, okay? I think that's a two-part process. It's been delivered, you go, yay, and then it'll say your item has been accepted, X amount will go into your account within this time frame, okay? All right, so that's how that works. So all these things that you sell over time just starts adding up in your wallet, and then you choose, after you set up where you want your money to go, you choose when it moves. And there's no fee, by the way. If you've got $50 sitting in your wallet and you're ready to move it, the $50 goes to your wallet. Or excuse me, you designate. Let's say there's $50 and you want 30 of it. I'm making something up. You want 30 of it to go in your wallet, then you type in you want 30 to go to your wallet and you're leaving 20 in there. Or you do the whole entire amount with the change and everything, right? You just want to zero it out or whatever, right? So that is how Vinted works in a nutshell. So I'll give you a little bit of stats, not to be braggy or anything like that. I'm just giving you some baseline to say I've had some experience now in what I'm talking about. So in May, I started off, I listed a few items to see how it worked. How does this shipping thing work? What label am I printing? Oh, there's FedEx. Well, how do I send the FedEx package? So I figured all that out. It wasn't hard. All right. I sold $14 in May. Okay. I kind of got the idea. So I keep doing this, right? And so in June, I sold $107.50. Okay. July comes along and I sold $363 on Vinted. Now, they have a bump feature, kind of like Poshmark. I don't sell on Poshmark anymore, just because it's back to what we talked about at the beginning of the video. It's too complicated. It's too involved. It's too much sharing and all that. I don't have that time in my life to dedicate to that. I decided personally. No shade to Poshmark. It's just it doesn't fit for me. Okay, so Vinted has a bump option that you could choose to bump your items. Let's say you've got something you put up and you're like, man, that's been on there a while. I guess it kind of got buried in all other people's listings and mine and all that kind of stuff. I want to bump it up to the top, but you got to pay. So you're paying Vinted to bump them. Me personally, it is an option for every item, but me personally, I don't do that simply because I already explained to you that the items I'm putting up are super inexpensive, so I don't want to, it doesn't make sense with my business model that I've got going, my way of listing. It doesn't make sense for me to bump out. It would be more than the item is selling for. That doesn't make sense. I'm not saying bumping your item wouldn't be beneficial on something, but the way I'm doing it right now, I just don't choose to bump the item. And I believe there's been talk about like $1.50 something, it'll show you to bump an item for like 3 days, and then it's more than that if you want like a week, like 7 days, something like that. So there's that option as well. So I've kind of told you about Vinted in a nutshell, and I found that it is a good way to build you up some extra money in some goal that you're working on. So that's a money breakthrough that if you want to get involved with that, I wanted to tell you about it because I think it's one of the most simple ways to list an item and ship it out that I know of. It's like super simple. And I want to throw one thing out there that I might not have clarified, and I want to clarify it. When we were talking about listing one item, as they go to bundle, I figured out what the key is. Because you might think, well, if somebody bundles something, how do they know how much it weighs? Well, that's a good question. I still don't have figured out even myself. But I looked at it this way. I put logic. It doesn't mean I'm right. But my logic is, if I list this one listing of item or items, right? However my listing is, if it's one or several things or whatever, if I'm selling these several things together as one in a listing, is what I'm saying. As long as we get each of those listings shipping weight correct upon the listing of it, then it's seamless when they bundle, because you accurately depicted the weights of, ranges of course, of each of the products that, as you listed them individually. So when they bundled them, they've got some kind of system on the Vinted side that it's covered. They've got a contract with the USPS some kind of way, whatever that means, but we don't have to worry about that as selling. Our key is to get the accurate weight at the top, at the beginning, when you post it. Okay, not trying to figure it out once you sold it, now what was, because they've already bought that label. So that's not the time to try to say what the weight actually is. It's not. That's not the time. That's too late. Okay. So you could probably run into some problems there, potentially, if you did it opposite of the ask. Okay. So that's Vinted. I'm going to post the link below. I have a link for Vinted, and if you want to join on Vinted, you can join through that link if you don't already have an account, and check out what I'm talking about. And if you know somebody that you think would like Vinted or might want to sell some stuff like this or whatever, then just share the link. Just share the link, and they can register through my link. I mean, no big deal. But I did this video hoping that it would help somebody else, because again, I've been selling for a really long time, and I'm not trying to promote that Vinted is only for low dollar stuff. I'm telling you that's how I'm utilizing Vinted, because I never really had a good way to move it other than trying to do it locally and things like that. And so I was kind of looking for something, and I came about it a different way. It was a family member. They were asking me a totally different question, and they just started saying what they were using, and I was like, what's that again? And that they weren't even contacting me to talk about the app. They were talking to me about a question that by the way, I'm using this app to sell stuff. You know what I mean? It was an indirect question. But so I got curious, and I was like, what really sold me on it per se is the fact that if you're selling something for amount that you want for something, that's what you get. And so the Vinted selling point is that sellers get what they ask for it. And then of course, unless you accept a lower offer, but you already know that. But you can rest assured that what offer you're accepting or the amount that you ask for is what you're going to get at the end of the day when it's successfully delivered and confirmed. And that, my friends, is how Vinted works. So if you want to comment down below and tell me what things that you're going to start off to try to sell on Vinted, and tell me how it goes. And you got my little spiel on it, and if that can help somebody to earn some money, then go try it. That's your money breakthrough for August. It's your little tip. Go make some money.